Okay. So I'm back for the questions. First of all, thank you very much for all your questions. There were several. In fact, the problem of experience is that today, because it's become at the heart of the business, it's very related to a lot of other things. So it's hard to really limit it in terms of it's hard to limit it to just one topic. In fact, what's important today is to understand that there are several elements that are correlated to it. First of all, somebody asked about moving up the pyramid and the feasibility of this ambition for certain brands. I would say moving up in general is more, unfortunately, more difficult than moving down. It's more difficult, but at the same time, it's not unfeasible. And moving down, the risk is that it's diluting the brand, so you're just going to lose in luxuriousness of your brand. Moving up, the interest is that, okay, you're moving up in luxuriousness, so you're, on the other hand, building brand status, brand equity, etc. Now, how is it feasible? So first answer to that, if it's feasible, but little by little. So it's not like you can jump from one let's say a stage of luxury to an upper stage just from one day to the other. So usually the way brands do it is that you launch a product that is a little bit more exclusive than the core of your products, and that is sort of your entry to an upper level. Nevertheless, if you're a brand that tends to have a price range, let's say you're doing leather goods and you have a price range between 500 and 1,500, for instance, more or less, for your core business, it's going to be hard from one day to the other to launch a product that is going to be 10 or 15,000 euros worth. So usually you do that also little by little, because you know there is sort of a maximum of willingness to pay for your brand, and that after, if you switch to a much higher budget, in fact, simply customer would switch to a different brand, a different offering. So in fact, you can do that, but little by little. And once you have installed a new offering at an upper price, nothing prevents you from diversifying this and having more offerings at that new let's say price for your customers, and going up little by little like this, installing your new proposition at that upper price level in an upper range of luxury. And then in the next stage, once you're well installed at that place, the ability to go again one step further, one move upward. So in fact, the feasibility of this ambition, it doesn't have to do with experiences only. It has to do with also the product offering, but experiences can help in that ambition. So that's, I hope that answers the question about moving up the pyramid. Somebody asked a question about the crime and the idea of customization, relevance, involvement, memorable, and elevating. Selling that it seems relevant for selling, and asking whether this would repeat for after-sales services. I think, in fact, yes, totally. It's not at all only about selling. It's also, we didn't have time, of course, here to talk about it, because it's a little bit of a digest of what I can do in the different programs. But in fact, the idea of the crime is that you can use it at any point of your customer journey, whether it's in pre-purchase, in purchase, or in post-purchase. So imagine at the level of creating awareness from your customers. Well, you can create awareness with a customized way to get your customers aware of your brand. You can also, definitely, you're going to create awareness with something that is relevant to your brand and not to any other brand. You can create awareness by involving your customers as well in what your brand is all about. So once again, it's true for every single element at any point of the customer journey. For instance, we've been working with different brands on the managing the waiting time in boutiques or between ordering and delivery. There you can totally use the crime as well. You're going to have your customers fed with very relevant experiences in between. So for instance, during the presentation, I talked about the Le Mans experience at Porsche. Definitely, Le Mans, it's an experience that you can have pre-purchase as a customer because you want to, get involved in the brand. But as a brand, you may want your customers to have the experience post-purchase, waiting for delivery, just to keep the dream during the waiting time very alive. And you can also use it post-purchase so that your customers will want the next generation of cars, or maybe another model, or maybe they're into sports car today, but they might get into SUVs tomorrow, or the other way around. So it's really something that you can use at any point of your customer journeys, and for any kind of purpose, from awareness to interest to desire creation to action creation, action being eventually the purchase action. So I'm looking through the other questions. There was a question about, I think it was a question about the meaning of luxury, saying that luxury is something a little bit ubiquitous today, so in different ways actually. It's luxury has become ubiquitous because, first of all, everybody is using this term for their own brand. And I would say if you need to use the word luxury for your own brand, it's probably that it's not luxurious yet in a certain way. But in fact, what's very interesting is that luxury is very multiple in meanings. First of all, because the term luxury, and then I would send you to my colleague Jean-Noël Capferrer and his book on the luxury strategy. The idea is that luxury per se can be a reference to a sector. So luxury per se is a sector with certain practices, with a certain level of sophistication in products, etc. Luxury is also a business model. It means that you're going to have certain management principles that are specific to address to this sector. But beyond this sector, in fact, you can have luxury management principles that are used for other businesses. So for instance, a brand like Apple is using luxury management principles because they have, a specific retail, their distribution is owned. They are not distributed everywhere. They're very careful about their distribution. They have a pricing that is also very similar to the luxury sector, etc. They have a communication that is very similar to the luxury sector. So the management principles, although they have been developed by luxury brands for luxury brands from the luxury sector, they are principles that can be used elsewhere as well. Then luxury is something that is very personal as well. Maybe my luxury is not your luxury. So in fact, it has to do with the question of what is luxury. We can define luxury from a certain price. We can define luxury again by management principles. But we can define luxury as well by what is luxury to you as a customer. A certain level of sophistication or a certain level of price is going to be luxury for one customer and not for another customer. So that's something also very personal. Now, I think today what's more interesting is to see that also premium brands are trying to adopt luxury rules in certain ways, like communication, distribution setting, etc., to try to, again, go up the ladder. But in fact, just the fact that you're using some management principles from luxury does not make you a luxury brand. You remain a premium brand with some luxury, principles applied to as a management tool. Then I had another question about how to interact with customers. Can it be done digitally, or do we have to do it through physical mailing? And in fact, the answer to that will be going back to the customization aspect in the crime models that I just presented. in fact, of course, for the one-to-many, it's very obvious that today we can do more and more things digitally, and that customers, in fact, don't are not offended by it. It's all the opposite. Sometimes they find it more just more convenient. Um, However, I think at times it's still very interesting to see that maybe luxury brands are the only ones that are still using the physical communication. And whether the one or the other should be chosen, I think first of all it's a matter of budget that is going to be applied to this. It's a matter of personalization as well, level of personalization that we want, and maybe it's a matter of the lifestyle of our customers. Once again, here I'm not saying it's a matter of age actually, because right now with Professor Capferrer, we are doing a research that shows that maybe age and there are so many papers about millennials are really really different. Our research shows that not that much in fact, but that it's more a matter of lifestyle of customers, and some customers prefer to be addressed digitally, some customers prefer to be addressed in an old-fashioned way, I could say in a way, but the old-fashioned is also to them a mark of privilege. So I said it should be a selection of customers, but in the selection of customers, customers feel privileged because they are selected. And in fact, sometimes there are certain ways of communications that are better at conveying this, selection and the fact that they are unique in their selection. So whether it's paper or emailing is also more than choosing the one or the other. It's more about what message do we want to convey to what customers and what is important to them. And then the last question maybe I wanted to address was the question that was asked about co-creation. I think it's a very interesting question in luxury. I think up till now, luxury brands have not been very open to co-creation with customers. Again, because as I said at the end of the seminar, luxury brands are more prescriptors than brands that go into co-creation. Again, you don't do market research. You don't ask customers what is it that you want next year. You are the power of creation. And in fact, this is what customers are looking for when they interact with luxury brands. They don't want to co-create. In fact, many times they want to be proposed extraordinary things, because once again, we are in the extraordinary. So in one way, if any customer is able to propose, is it still luxury? Because it means that it doesn't request any specific skills to propose something. So in fact, the fact that you can co-create is a little bit complicated and is a bit dangerous, because it's almost conveying the message that you're not adding anything special as a brand, because anybody could do it. So co-creation is very great if, and only if, you decide to co-create with people that have really unique skills or really unique elements to bring to the brands. So we see that, for instance, Vuitton, for many years, they've been co-creating with different artists, for instance, that have been, tagging or illustrating their canvas and their logo to make it a bit different. Nevertheless, it's been done not by anybody, but by artists that were proposing this to customers. Their last collaboration also with Supreme for the men collection. So Supreme is a skateboarding brand from New York. It's again bringing something from a brand that has a certain knowledge of customers, that has a certain know-how, that has a certain style. Then we can discuss whether we think it matches the Vuitton style or not, but in any case, they bring a know-how, they bring a style, they bring something special and complementary to the Vuitton style. Now, in experiences, it's a little bit different, because in an experience, the customer is also an actor of the experience. The experience is on both sides, so the brand is creating the experience of the customer, But since I said the customer has to be involved, if the customer doesn't do something about it, nothing's going to happen. So at the end of the day, indeed, I would say experiences per se are things that are co-created because the customer is also an actor of this experience. So by essence, if you are engaged into an experience with the brand, you're going to be co-creating that experience. So that's it. I think I covered most of the questions that were asked. And of course, well, you can still contact me if you have more. But what's more interesting is that I think what was offered today is really a digest of what we can do on a specific topic, but that cannot really be addressed in isolation of the rest. So I think we would need more time, obviously, to talk about all these elements. In any case, thank you very much for following the seminar. And I hope to interact maybe with you in real in the future. Thank you very much and goodbye.